You dig what I'm saying? If they all hollers, I'm a counterfeit. Yeah, I wanted money, I couldn't enjoy class.
This is a different curious case for me. For all the other curious cases I've done for the likes of Nav, X, Suicide Boys and Playboy Cardi, their moments in the spotlight are either happening right now or are likely imminent. But for Young Lean, I think it's safe to say he has peaked popularity wise, or at least in terms of the cultural influence he will have. So this will be much more of a reflection of what turned Lean into this massive force. Whereby people wrote him off as a meme, wannabe throwaway Lil B, but he was able to morph himself into a cultural figurehead, leading to many imitations and many clones, and by all means a very prosperous career thus far. With millions of views, multiple albums, and tours that touched everywhere, even out here in Australia, he has done very well for himself. So this video isn't going to be focusing so much on the career of Young Lean, but more so into the factors that played into his success. But before we dive in, just a little bit of history.
Why should people care?
I'm the shit, bitch.
Young Lean is a rapper who began to gain traction after uploading music videos to YouTube in 2013. He hails from Sweden, however raps in his second language English, and is a part of the clique Sad Boys, of which Young Sherman and Young Good are also a part of, who produce frequently for Young Lean. He is currently 20 years old, but was just a teenager when the colossal Sad Boys movement began. Initially it was somewhat of a meme, and people began to listen to or refer to him ironically, but as his music began to mature, grow, and sink in, people realized that beneath the childish aesthetic, there was an undeniable enjoyment in his music, and this led to Lean becoming, at the time at least, a very influential figure in popular internet culture and the underground rap landscape as a whole. But what led to Lean becoming such a huge figure? Well, enough talking and let's dive in.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man. Makes me want to fuck these mountains.
It's difficult to know where to start with Young Lean, as everything seems to tie into each other, but let's begin with his music and try to describe the appeal. In today's modern rap landscape, people often refer to the voices of artists like Lil Yachty and Young Thug as extensions of the beat. They're instruments in and of themselves, and their lyrics are meant to be paid attention to as much as their voices and delivery and how it molds with the instrumentation is simply meant to be enjoyed. This is an important point in why Young Lean is popular. Many people refer to the production that Young Lean goes over as more enjoyable, more so than Young Lean in and of himself, often giving credit to producers like Young Sherman, Young Good, and White Armor for the enjoyment of his music. This is an undeniably large part of his success. The soundscape that his producers provide Lean with are nothing short of beautiful. They're spacey, textured, and could be described as some sort of futuristic interpretation of what hip-hop will sound like. They often have a trap influence within them, but the synths and samples that form the instrumentals are futuristic in nature and sound as if they could land on like an intro theme to a sci-fi TV show or something. For example, watch this. This was a trailer of sorts that was released leading up to Unknown Memory, and the beat you heard was featured on the song Vault. But if I had no idea who Lean was and about his music, and someone showed me that, I would assume it's for some sort of like X-Files or Star Trek type show. The genre that Lean's sound is attached to is cloud rap, but it isn't always defined by this association, as his sound has ranged and developed quite a bit. Much of his earlier stuff, like Jing Sing Street for example, was quite clearly cloud rap, but his style took quite the progression and artistic leap on Unknown Memory, where it was clear that the production budget expanded and producers like Good, Sherman and White Armor were able to really come into their own, and they helped to create a futuristic audio playground for Lean to explore. His instrumentals are pure bliss, and even people who don't like Lean are genuinely able to appreciate this aspect of his music. So we've established that his production is a huge reason to his success, but to confine the enjoyment that people have with Young Lean to solely his instrumentals is doing a disservice to Lean, because one of the huge reasons I enjoy Lean so much is for Lean himself. But why?
Well, I'm gonna make a video like Young Lean digging a hole to see how I really dig a hole. I'm good at that.
When you listen to artists like Thug, Yachty, or even someone like Uzi, you get a sense that they are trying to do something different, unique, or attention-grabbing with their voices, to make their addition memorable on the track. I think Lean is a contrast to this. His voice is usually lifeless, monotone, and simply there on the production. He doesn't take the time to create these off-the-wall, catchy melodies, or do something unique and attention-grabbing with his voice or lyrics. He simply just says what he wants to, how he wants to, and when he wants to, with no mind paid to conventions, innovation, or uniqueness. His flow on some tracks is clunky, his lyrics can be non-coherent, and his melodies can be mind-numbingly simple. but they don't subtract or take away from the attention you were paying to his instrumentals, and it lets the two aspects behind his music, voice and production, combine and be equal. This helped to create the sad rap aesthetic that many credit Young Lean for being extremely influential in popularizing. The way his voice kind of glides over these emotionally invoking beats helps to create this sad aesthetic. In saying this though, this doesn't mean that Lean's voice over the track is replaceable, and to say that the sentiments in his lyrics and the connection this had with a niche audience wasn't a huge part of his success would be inaccurate. I don't think the ideas, imagery, and immaturity for lack of a better word that was found in a lot of his earlier songs, such as Jing Sang Strip, was responsible for creating the huge wave he had for himself. Although admittedly it was a huge part of his success and made for a decent meme, as is evident by the amount of views that these types of songs have. But I feel like these songs were a little bit disconnected from the overall notion and sentiment of the Sad Boys wave.
No, I'm happy.
Yeah, I'm on the Libra.
Yeah.
I think lyrical ideas portrayed in songs like Yoshi City and Kyoto were more responsible for the connection his lyrics had with people. When Lean came out, internet rap, as I'll refer to it in this video, was at a much simpler time than it was now. It was much less cluttered, and the idea of using sadness, loneliness, and suicidal thoughts as a backing for an artist's image, aesthetic, or lyrical direction was still a relatively new concept to the internet. There weren't huge amounts of copies and clones that are doing it today for the sake of internet stardom. Artists like Bones were still in their infancy, so when Lean came out, the aesthetic and lyrical direction he came with, embodied in his group name simply Sad Boys, was a fresh image to the underground rap landscape. This is the most polarizing part of Lean. Some people could not fathom the enjoyment in hearing someone with a traditionally weak hip-hop voice and flow kind of moan rap nonchalantly about being sad. But for me, Lean was able to speak to the people who hadn't been spoken to before in hip-hop at that time. The lonely and the internet addicted, but at the same time the meme aspect to his image helped to reach the edgy Tumblr hipster crowd as well. A huge part of his appeal for myself is that he didn't try to dress anything up, or try to say things that were overly complicated, but something as simple as smoking loud I'm a lonely clown is hard hitting. Even diving in with personal experiences for me, something like Lean World, a song of unknown memory, which was Lean's debut album, where he's half singing, half rapping about a torn relationship, helped me get through a situation with a girl that I was going through at the time.
You just crouch. That's it.
The emotion Lean's instrumentals are able to invoke, thanks to stellar work from the likes of Good, Sherman, and White Armor, in conjunction with Lean's simple, emotionally fueled lyrics, help to make a unique connection with a niche audience on the internet, where, at the time at least, it was very much ushering a new wave of hip-hop, loosely termed sad rap. But it was more than just the face value of the music, it was the movement, culture, and togetherness that came with the Sad Boys. Certain artists and their groups are able to create subcultures within youth, whereby people live and define their image with that artist. Think of something like Odd Future. At their peak, not only did the fans enjoy their music, but there was a strong communal aspect to it. You saw people dressing like them, you heard people talking like them, and you saw those fucking donuts everywhere. It was a statement for that person, an extension of their personality, and a ribbon they wore proudly. This was similar to the Sad Boys movement in its heyday. Sad Boys became a part of their vocabulary, bucket hats a part of their fashion, and Arizona iced tea their drink of choice. This created a sense of belonging that came with listening to Sad Boys, and it became about more than just the music for fans of Young Lean. He was the figurehead of a cultural movement within youth. He became the figurehead of being sad, and as corny as that sounds, the internet and meme-addicted teens found a relatability in firstly his music, and secondly the whole aesthetic that came with Lean, whereby teenagers were able to identify and align themselves with the Sad Boys movement online by a simple Tumblr post, or even a simple 6-word tweet, proving to everyone just how sad they were. It didn't matter if these people were actually sad or not, but it mattered that they identified with the Sad Boys aesthetic. Because when people identify with the movement, they identify with the music, and that is the key right there. It's a yin and yang relationship. Thus, when you talk about Lean's status as some sort of innovator and path maker in the internet rap landscape, and the gigantic success his music has had, you need to mention the cultural impact of the Sad Boys movement as well. As the two go hand in hand. The music created the culture, but the culture bolstered the music. As I said earlier, everything is kind of tied in together with Lean, and what I just said then was kind of one really long paragraph, but at the peak of Lean's wave, it was very much a combination of his refreshing, futuristic production, the sad boys cultural movement, and his simple, down-to-earth, relatable lyrics to an internet audience that morphed together to transcend Lean from a meme to some sort of deity to sad teenagers worldwide.
I was walking around, this guy with a big mustache came up, he's like, "What's up, Lin? What's up, Lin Doer?" I'm like, "What's up, man?" And it turned out to be my uncle.
Alright guys, that's all from me in this video. Thanks a lot for watching. Let me know what you guys thought about it. Please like, subscribe, and follow me on all social medias.
We cashed out, we came through, we cashed out. Now we have to smoke.